Hello, everybody. Today I'm joined by Jennie, who also lives in the Des Moines area. And she contacted me and asked if I would like to have her share with us her story of being a single parent with two boys on the autism spectrum. So I'm going to have Jennie tell us a little bit about her boys.
I have two boys. One is almost 14 and one is 12. Their names are Bentley and Eli. They go to school and are in the special education program. And let's see, Bentley was 3 and Eli was also 3 when he was diagnosed.
And what led you to seek a diagnosis of your first son?
My first son, we actually had early access coming to our house for my youngest son at that point because he had failed his hearing test.
Oh, okay.
And so she had noticed, the lady that would come, noticed that how Bentley was not talking as much and asked us a few questions. And we told her he was, but he wasn't. He regressed. So she was kind of keeping an eye on both of them until Eli passed his hearing test. And then we kind of knew at that point that he was, because he wasn't talking as nearly as much, and he was almost 2 at that point.
So as far as social interaction, did he have normal social interactions at that point?
Other than with my nieces, no. I was a stay-at-home mom then too, so the only interaction he really got was his little baby brother.
So when he was with his nieces, did he play, did they play together, or were they
yeah.
just, they did?
Hands down.
Okay.
He would giggle at him most of the time than actually say anything. That's about it.
And then so your diagnosis came through the lady that was working with your other son for hearing.
Yes. Yep, she had told us that he does fall on the spectrum, and was just kind of coming to our house once a month to teach me how to help him. And we had, in our area, we had a socialization hour, and we would take him to that, and he would get to play with other kids. And he kind of just blossomed from there, really. He started talking more. He still was delayed. But then when we moved to Des Moines, he kind of had a little setback. They both did. They kind of regressed again. So they ended up in the special education program again.
Did they go to early childhood special education preschool?
Yes, they went to Smouse in Des Moines.
Okay.
And they were in the same class, which is a big no-no because, one's more worried about the other.
Mm-hmm.
So I had one in the afternoon and one in the morning.
Oh.
Which, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
That's a full day for you.
It was an interesting time. But they did great there. And then they determined that they were good. They didn't need to go to Ruby Van Meter once kindergarten. So they got to go to actual school. And at that point, Bentley started at Park Avenue. That did not last long. Or correction, I should say, Bentley went to Mitchell.
And that's in Des Moines?
That's in Des Moines. And then the school ended up losing him on the bus.
Oh my gosh, how terrifying.
So, yeah, I pulled him from that school. And then we put him in Ben Park. And then we had another incident. Pulled him from that school. And then they ended up at McKinley. And McKinley was amazing. I loved McKinley. I did not want to take them out of McKinley. And then we moved out to this further south side of Des Moines. And they started at Studebaker. Did not like that school at all. And then we moved to Carlisle, and they go to Carlisle, and I love Carlisle. And school's done amazing things for them. Always double check your special education program to see if they have any. Because the school's wonderful.
That's good. And I would guess maybe it's easier for them in a smaller school district too. Yes. And Des Moines is so big.
Yeah, they had the option of the one-on-one. And we actually have a couple teachers that will go out of their way to check on our boys.
That's great.
They're their little buddies.
That's so awesome. Important.
It's awesome.
We had some teachers like that too, and that, for one thing, it just makes you feel so much more secure with where they're at.
Yes.
And it makes you happy to know that there's people that are looking out for them.
Yes.
Now, Ruby Van Meter, I've heard of Ruby Van Meter, but I'm not exactly positive about what is that for children who are more on the severe side of the spectrum to where they can't be in a regular classroom?
I think so. From my understanding, it was. So
you don't know a lot about it either.
I don't know a lot about it.
I've heard that name a lot, and I'm pretty sure when I lived in Knoxville, there were some people, children that were bused to Ruby Van Meter. But I didn't ever know for sure if it's just autism or it's all disabilities.
I think it's all disabilities, but I could be very wrong on that.
I'm gonna have to do some research on that just because I'm curious.
Me too.
Okay, so they were diagnosed. Was they in Knoxville anyway? We had the Area Education Agency, the AEA. They were involved, and then did they got you? Because how it was with Craig, we went to a speech pathologist. They diagnosed Craig, and then the AEA came to our house and did their own evaluation, and then they just got Craig into the early childhood education program, and pretty much the school system took it from there.
We, our early access lady, or area access, she had called me at work and said she was pretty sure Eli was on the spectrum, and we were referred to Iowa City. So we got to Iowa City, and they did a lot of different testing. Speech testing, the hearing test, and then the mental evaluation. And after all that was, Eli did not tolerate the hearing. He just didn't like anything on his ears.
Yeah, we had that same experience with Craig. In fact, that's where we started, was because they were like, well, maybe he can't hear.
Yeah, and with Eli failing his hearing test when he was a baby, they also kind of thought, yeah, maybe. But the doctor came in and told me that he is for sure, and I just asked her where on the spectrum, because there's the high and the low, and I just got told he was in the middle.
No one ever really told me where Craig was on this. I didn't ask. The only thing I remember is that the diagnosis from the speech pathologist when Craig he wasn't 3 yet, was that it said prognosis guarded because of the severity of the disorder, which I will tell you, as a parent reading that and never having really much knowledge about autism, that diagnosis written on that piece of paper was terrifying. Luckily, it was nothing like that. I mean, I did never see Craig's autism or his disabilities as severe, but maybe other people looking on would have.
Yeah.
He was just Craig.
Yep, that's just like it was with Bentley and Eli. It's like I thought they were just little boys just being monkeys and not wanting to.
Right.
It's just.
Well, yeah,
they're stubborn like their mom.
Well, I remember when Craig didn't talk, people were like, oh, he's just a late bloomer. I knew, this person had a child and they didn't talk until they were 3 and they're just fine. And so you just, some of the talking part, to me, that wasn't even the issue. And I don't know if you had this experience, but with Craig, he did not respond to what we said to him. Like, if I said, Craig, sit down, it was like he was deaf, but I knew he wasn't because he came running when he heard certain TV shows. So
Eli was the exact same way. See, I have seeing Bentley and Eli. I hate to be the parent to compare, but you see Bentley and he's over here talking, doing things a normal kid should to an extent. Eli's all back here, not nonverbal. He was nonverbal when he was diagnosed. I think they said his mental capacity or something was of a 3-month-old when he was 3. So that broke my heart. Yeah. That was bad. But
he was able to walk, and
he was able to walk.
They're just talking about cognitive though, not like motor skills and everything. Okay.
He was flapping. He was, walking on his tiptoes every once in a blue moon, but he was Eli. He was having fun in his own little world.
Well, I feel like they're your children. You just grow into that, and it doesn't seem strange to you. It's just that's just what they do.
Like my kid does weird things. I'm sure I did weird things when I was younger.
Oh, I know I did. Well, and even now, like we go out in public, and Craig's naturally he likes to. Oh, we always call it reciting, which Craig hates, but they call it scripting now, and Craig pretty much does that constantly in some form or another. And you get a lot of strange looks. Even once in a while, I'll hear someone say something like, oh my gosh, or something like that. Just the other day at Target I did. But to me, it's not strange because I live with it. Like, it's not alarming, but I do understand how if you're not around that and you see a person doing that, I would hope in this day and age, though, when the autism rate is so high, that more people would get it. Like, and
be kind. In a
yeah,
world where you
exactly.
can be anything, be kind.
Exactly. And you know, don't just think someone's weird. Wonder why they're doing that, or I wonder, you know.
Yeah, and if you're really curious, ask questions.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I have no problem
Oh
answering.
yeah.
I will tell you, be like, he's autistic, and join in.
If
he's flapping, flap with them.
Yeah.
They like it.
There was an episode of The Middle where they never say that their youngest son, Brick, did you ever watch the show The Middle? Well, their son, they never say he has autism, but he has a lot of autistic traits and social. So I think he would be on the spectrum. But he always had this thing where he would go whoop. And they were at a ball game for their son, I think. And Brick kept doing that. And then someone turned around and said, does your kid have to do that? Can you tell him to knock it off? And so the parents, they just started doing it too. And they're both going, whoop, whoop. It's just a thing we do, you know.
It's fun. Like, you gotta have fun with them.
Yeah. I mean,
be on their level.
Normalize it.
Exactly. That's like with Eli. He talks with his hands. I have a conversation like this at least 10 times a day. And it may be not be nothing to somebody, but it's something to him.
Oh yeah. That's how he's communicating.
Exactly.
You got to run with it.
Exactly. It's fun. I love it. I really do. I love it.
So how are they doing in school now as far as you have good teachers?
Yes.
I feel like you do. And one of your sons has a one-on-one, right?
Yep. Eli has a one-on-one. And we had to kind of fight to get this person to be his one-on-one and his one-on-one only. He does not have anybody else. Like, that's his person. That's what
They're
he's
kind
good
of going
at.
to that, I feel like.
Yes. And I pushed for that hardcore for him because I know if I have a different person coming at me every day, just like if he was having a meltdown, if I have 5 million people coming at me, it's going to make me worse.
Mm-hmm.
And Eli, and you're going to shut down. It's a new person. You got to get used to it. He's going to shut down and we're going to have more meltdowns. So now we finally got him. That's his one-on-one person. And his only. That's his person.
I remember with Craig, sometimes the one-on-ones are sick.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'd have to have a substitute one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And Craig usually did better if it was a younger person because they'd have some older substitutes and they were wonderful people, but they were a lot like my mom was with Craig, whereas if Craig was getting upset, they try reasoning with him. And that's just not the approach with Craig anyway. With Craig, you pretty much have to take him out of the situation. You're not going to talk him into not being upset. So he usually didn't have great days if he had a substitute. He had developed a relationship with his one-on-one, and that was very important. When Craig was in high school, well, he did the extended program where they can go until they're 21, and one of the reasons we decided to take him out early is because they started wanting to have Craig's one-on-one associate also be a one-on-one associate to another person and not be with Craig all the time. And I just thought that was a recipe for disaster for Craig because Craig just doesn't do well switching people, or he didn't then. I think today maybe it wouldn't be so hard, but back then it really would have been an issue.
Yeah. With Bentley and Eli's teachers, Bentley, he loves everybody. He's a hardcore people person that you can't upset him. We just got Bentley to the point where he'll go and work in a group with other kids instead of requiring a helper.
That's good.
He has flourished so much this past year. 6th and 7th grade, that was rough. But 8th grade, we actually had his transition meeting this last week. And, they think he'll be able to do it on his own someday.
Wow. Yeah.
So I'm excited for that.
That's great news for a parent.
I'm sad because now he thinks he's going to move out someday. I'm like, but I know it's going to happen.
Meaning he'll probably be able to have a job then. And
Yeah.
do you think he'll be able to drive a car?
Well, his dream is to be a monster truck driver. He's die-hearted in Monster Jam right now, so I really hope so. I think so.
Craig never had the awareness of his surroundings.
His stepdad has been working with him a little bit in empty parking lots. Don't worry.
Well, that's good. You know, that's great.
Yes, just a little bit here and there, as long as it's empty. Otherwise, no. His stepdad came home and told me that one time. I'm like, not yet, Dad.
Well, here's where I think it's interesting, because I have a lot of people comment on here. Craig should have a job, and why won't you let Craig work, and why won't you let him drive a car and have a girlfriend? That's because Craig is very different from the person that you must know that is able to do those things. Because Craig has no awareness. If he drove a car, he'd run over everyone. Like, Craig is very like focused, or he's gonna get distracted by video, or who knows what he sees. If he sees something, a fast food restaurant, he's probably just going to be looking at that. It's just they're all different. Her son probably focus in a different way.
I have one that focuses, and one he's not gonna focus. He's gonna be my one that's gonna be home with mom.
Just
Bentley, no. It just depends on where their focus is.
And they're both verbal, right? We know Bentley is.
Bentley is more verbal than Eli. Eli is getting there. I think he's saying the colors, and he's actually saying comfortable.
So at what age did Bentley start to talk?
I want to say he was in probably 3rd or 4th grade was when he finally opened up and started using his words to communicate, I think.
I think that's good for a lot of people to hear. Definitely there are those on the spectrum who may never speak. I don't think the age isn't such a... If they're not talking by 5, doesn't mean they're never going to talk.
With my kids, I know when they would get upset or anything, I was very adamant about, Mommy can't help you unless you tell me try to find your words. And I was very adamant about that. I don't know about you, Nancy, but we were on wait lists for waiver services to kind of help us. Did you guys have those waivers?
We do now. Like, that's how Craig can get programs, but we didn't when he was younger.
We were on wait lists for 5 years, and I ended up just, by the time we finally got approved to get a spot, but at this point, I've researched a lot, and I've been doing it all on my own with my kids talking, and Googling and watching Nancy, of course. I watch videos, Googling, and I do things at home, my own visual schedules, talking. You know, me and the school have very close communication. Like, I have their numbers on speed dial. I'm not even joking. I can contact them on Facebook Messenger now. We also, consistency too. That's a big one.
Oh yeah.
Like, if something works at school, they'll let me know and I'll incorporate it at home, or vice versa. We're
definitely
very adamant about that too. Even schedules, down to the T. Even at home during summer, it's whatever their school schedule is, I try to do it as much as possible.
Definitely they work better on a schedule. I mean, even Craig now, he doesn't have to be on a schedule, but he does much better if at the beginning of the day he knows what's going to happen, and it happens like that.
Yeah, my kids just know. They just know, like, and if something changes, then we gotta talk about it, you know, religiously for a few days. Like, if we're going on a trip, I try to warn them a few days ahead.
Right.
You know, this is what's going to happen. So, because, you know, doctor's appointments, they don't do doctors well. That one we got to warm them up to, and sometimes bribe them. But I mean,
I think it took me quite a while to figure that out, because with Craig, I had the thought in my head that I didn't want him to know until it happened, because I didn't want him to get worked up about it. But actually, it works a lot better if you start days ahead at least and talk about what's going to happen and prepare them for it.
Yeah, so you're not just in the doctor's office having to tackle them.
Right, yeah. That's a really good point.
They just had to get their immunizations a couple months ago, and I was told Bentley was done with his. He didn't need to get in. We were wrong. That was not fun, but we got it done. So Eli, we were able to prepare him. He wasn't as bad, but my kids bigger than mom. So they're a lot bigger than mom, so mom can't really handle them by herself that way. So, but we got it done. We got it done.
That's the important part. Sometimes you get things done, you figure it out as you go.
Mm-hmm.
Jennie was telling me that, is it Bentley, that had his appendix.
Oh, Eli.
I'm getting all mixed up.
It's okay. Some people do.
She was telling me a story about how Eli had his appendix, did it rupture? And he had an abscess, right?
It ruptured and he had a baseball-sized abscess. We took him to the emergency room and he ended up getting admitted. He did great the whole time. The first night was kind of rough because, he's hooked up to wires and, the IV and stuff. We were in the hospital for 5 days. The next morning he had to do like a minor surgery, get his drain put in because they needed the abscess to drain and whatnot. At one point, and he had the drain for a month, he ended up having a fistula grow, and so they thought they were going to take part of his colon.
Oh my goodness.
And luckily the fistula actually grew back up. It went up and then back into the appendix itself, so she got to take it all in one shot and we didn't have to take part of his colon, thank goodness. But he handled it really, really well. I was actually surprised how well.
And how old was he then?
He was 7. And still technically nonverbal. So I thought he would have his moments where he's just like, just don't touch me. Mm-hmm. I get it. That's a poor kid. Mm-hmm. So much pain. And he didn't want to take pain Tylenol or anything. We had to tell him it was candy, the chewables. Because, you're walking hunched over. You're going to be in pain.
Oh, yeah.
For checkups, he wouldn't go in the elevator. He's petrified of elevators. So we did the stairs at Blank Children's Hospital. We went up those stairs every day. And he wouldn't go to school the next day. And yeah, we would get letters from the school saying, the truancy or whatever it is. But they knew what was going on. And he had to have somebody with him 24/7 when I would send him to school. Because a slight move with that drain, it could have did the worst. Mom didn't want to send him to school. But I had to. But he had his drain taken out the day of surgery, and he will still tell you the donut machine, the CT scan. He calls it the donut machine. He likes the donut machine. It saved his owies. Oh. He's so cute. He'll tell you all about it, and it made him feel better. It's awesome.
But she survived. One of my worst fears, I was worried, like, what if something like that happened to Craig and he had to be in the hospital? And especially not so much now because Craig has a lot more understanding, but when he was younger, Craig's understanding was very limited until, definitely at the age of 7. Mm-hmm. So it was always like, how would I get him to understand that he has to stay in the bed and keeping an IV in his arm? But
Eli did really good with the IV. They would take him off a little bit. There's a playroom at the top of Blank, and the nurses would come and, so mommy could have a little bit of break to shower or whatever, take him up there, and, he'd have his tree. That's what they called it, his little tree, or they would disconnect him for a little bit and let him go play, or play around the room. They would bring, they did it so he was comfortable. He didn't really mind it. He was over it.
He never tried to take it out?
No, he actually got mad the day we got discharged and got mad because he wanted to leave it in.
Oh, wow.
He got really
That
mad.
was how it was then.
Yeah, we had medical transportation take us home. That I felt bad for that guy because Eli just screamed the whole way. He just wanted his thing back in.
Oh.
I'm like, poor guy. I'm like, no, you don't. You want to go home and see your brother.
He did become his routine, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he didn't really mind it at all.
So you didn't have to do anything special to get him to keep it in or to...
Nope. They had just like an elastic bandage type thing. Mm-hmm. And with his drain, it's just hanging there. They had just like a belly band to help hold it up. Well, luckily he was still in pull-up, so that helped keep it intact.
Oh,
so we didn't really have to do too much.
That's good.
Changing his dressing around it, that was the worst, I think. Taking the bandages off.
Right.
Like, I'm holding his arms down. We had to hold him down, and thank God for my boyfriend. He would do the bandage for me, and it broke our hearts. But Jim's got a couple like little light things that Eli loves. Eli loves lights. Anything with lights. That was his reward. Even taking his medicine, we would try to hide it.
You have to find that highly sought after reward that they like.
The worst part, I think, for me was seeing him in pain and knowing that I almost lost him. Not being home, being able to be home with Bentley.
Yeah, yes, that's hard. And then there's that other side of it is when you have two children on the spectrum, what happens with the other one while you're in the hospital with Eli?
Yeah. Well, thank God for my boyfriend. We've been together going on 11 years, and he's stepped up to be dad to my kids. He's amazing. They call him dad now.
That's great.
Yeah, he's amazing, and he didn't even hesitate when I called him. I was like, "Hey, Eli's getting admitted." He's like, "Don't worry, honey, I got this." I get teary-eyed because it's like he didn't have to. He could have just been like, "Bye," and he didn't.
And also, you have a very supportive family.
Yes, my dad and
helps so much.
Yeah, my dad and stepmom and my mom. And Jim's mom was actually there right away the next morning after getting admitted the night before. It helped me figure, because their dad's not in the picture. So, I mean, my family's been my biggest rock.
Yeah. Jennie's done a lot of this as a single parent. How long after you were separated from your husband, for lack of a better term, did you meet Jim? Like how long were you on your own?
I'd say 8 months, I think, or better.
Okay.
Around that. Yeah. Mom introduced us, and the rest is history. Yeah, we broke up there for a little bit just because I needed to figure out myself and this whole mom thing, special needs kids. But he was still there. We weren't together, but he was still at every doctor's appointment, IEP meeting. He did it.
And he has a son.
And he's got a son.
Who's not on the spectrum.
No. Hunter, he's 12 as well, just turned 12. And he's a spitfire. He definitely teaches these boys how to boy. He's awesome. I love him. He's the best stepson ever.
It's such a happy story. Yeah. I'm so glad to hear that. And we're very comfortable with your son's diagnoses. Yeah. And it sounds like you've had a lot of people to support you, yes. Which is so important.
Yes. And it was hard at first. Eli's got a behavior plan. It does get better. You just got to figure out your groove. That's all. And a lot of patience. A lot of patience you don't realize you have until it happens.
Behavior is probably the hardest part to deal with. I know when Craig was younger and had more behavior issues, that's the thing that stops you from visiting relatives, from going out to eat, from you just don't want to deal with those. Yeah, you don't want to deal with those situations. For many years, like Joe and I would take turns, like going to school events. I'd go and Joe would stay home with Craig, or vice versa, because it was just easier than taking Craig to events where he didn't understand what was going on or why he had to be there, and he couldn't run up and down the aisle.
Yep. See, Bentley, he's in choir. He's a die-hard choir kid in school. He loves it. Eli doesn't like a lot of noise. He's starting to get more sensitive to noise. So Jim will stay home with him, so just to make sure mom's there. Because that's one thing I'm adamant about. I will be at everything. Be there. That's all, just be there. It's what your kids remember.
Yes. Yeah.
Parents being there.
You want those memories.
They'll watch it on the live stream at home, but we make it work with all of us.
That's an important part of parenting a child with autism is you just have to adapt sometimes. There's not an easy answer for every situation. No. But if you have supportive people in your life, hopefully, you can make it work. And how is it with other kids at school? Are they understanding? Have you had any trouble with other kids?
No. You know what? Bentley is popular. They're both popular. They're real classrooms. They're gen ed classrooms. Beg their teachers. Can they come in? Can Eli come hang out during story time or, whatever class it is? Can Bentley? We had Bentley's big 13th birthday party this last year, and he had friends there that aren't on the spectrum or in the special needs, and they were all about Bentley.
That's awesome.
They're the popular group, kind of. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Everybody loves them. I've never had any issues with bullying. Good. That's one thing I will give Carlisle schools is there's no bullying tolerance.
That's kind of similar to our experience, but of course Craig wasn't really that social. But the kids in the class always loved having Craig in the class, and their parents would come up to me when we'd see each other at conferences and tell me how much their kids would come home and talk about Craig. And I think things have come a long way, even more now probably from when Craig was in school. But things certainly had come a long way from when I was in school.
Bentley gets invited to a lot of birthday parties.
That's great.
A lot.
That's really great.
Yeah.
I told her another question I was going to ask her was about potty training, because I feel like for me, potty training was a huge issue with Craig, and I was always on the internet looking for the magical autism potty training secret. And I'll let you in on a secret. There's not one.
There's no secret. It's you find whatever works for you to get. I have back issues, and I was changing Eli's pull-up one day. He's 12. He was always afraid to go potty on the big boy potty, and I bent over one day and I was like, Eli, I'm not changing your pull-up no more. I'm done. You get to learn how to do it. And he got up, went potty, and decided he was going to wear big boy underwear that day. And one day, it clicked for him. That's all it took. And Bentley, we just took him in out of pull-ups, and it took about 2 weeks for Bentley.
How old was he? Oh, sorry, Craig decided to join us.
How long you been done?
Well, what do you need me for?
What are you doing this for?
Craig, you have to be nice.
Sorry.
It's okay to have a friend here and talk, right?
Right.
Do you need me for something?
Yeah, what about dinner?
Well, it's not time for dinner, is it?
No.
What time is it?
4 o'clock.
Okay, well, you got an hour, so I think we'll be okay.
I think Bentley he was in third grade. He was in third grade when he finally got him done my boyfriend got him done in 2 weeks. Christmas break when I was working. I came home, he's not in pull-ups anymore. Yes.
That's awesome. And so the school system, if your child, since they weren't potty trained, then does the one-on-one help them with that, or how do you handle that at school?
The school nurse will actually.
Oh, okay.
Like they go in the nurse's office to go to the bathroom and all that, and she'll.
Well, that's good to know. Yeah. I had no idea.
That's what ours did, anyways. I don't know about.
That's probably right for everywhere, because I wondered how that would work.
Yeah, they had to have special training or something. I remember one of them was telling me one time. So yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
Yes. And that's if the child will let them, whatever they're comfortable with. Like sometimes, I know Eli had an associate at one point. It was the only person that he would let her to help him. When the school nurse took over, he didn't want. Nope. If the associate wasn't there, Mom was getting called to go do it. And I'm there. Beck and call. I don't care. I'll drop everything for those boys.
That's really great.
Yeah.
The other question I had was about eating habits, because that's another question I get a lot, is because people have seen on here, Craig's come a long ways in his eating, but when he was younger, he ate a very limited diet.
Yes. Eli and Bentley are both very picky. I have noticed somewhat recently, if I'm sitting down to eat and it's something they've never tried, Eli will come up and say, "Can I try?" And he'll try it. He may not like it, but he may like it, but he'll eat it.
That's the first step. Just getting them to try it.
If they see you eating something and they get curious, I'll be like, "Do you want to try?" And they'll tell me yes or no. I don't force them. I would love them to have better eating habits, because right now it's, cereal, frozen pizza, chips, stuff like that.
That's very familiar.
Eli will eat a salad now, and he will eat a ham or turkey sandwich. That's a huge for him, because otherwise, no.
And he's 12?
He's 12. He'll be 13 in March.
So there's hope. If your kids are young, you just got to get there.
It takes time.
But they have to decide. I mean, I think they have to get rid of their defenses and decide they'll try it, because that's the big thing. If we tried to make Craig try something, he would throw up back before he decided to do it on his own.
It has to be on their terms. I hate to say that, but
it's
my
true.
kids, it has to be their terms. Even like when it comes to cleaning, we're asking them to do. I'm working on chore charts for them right now, And it has to be on their terms. Like, they have to think of it. It has to be their idea.
Well, yeah, it's
But it
probably
gets-
always good to get them involved, and so they understand why it's on there.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of anything
I think
else.
that's it.
I think I
That's
covered
it.
everything that I put down that we should talk about. It has been so great getting to know Jennie.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. And Jennie apparently lives pretty close to
I
me.
live 10
actually.
minutes away.
So great to know there's someone else that I can chat with about this and compare notes and get ideas from. I was telling her that even today, I feel like all of a sudden I'll think of something. It's like I got hit over the head with it.
Mm-hmm.
Why did it take me so long to figure out why Craig's doing this or not doing that? Or I don't know, sometimes. And what has helped me a lot is the channel, hearing what other people have to say, especially the people that are on the spectrum. They say some things sometimes that make a light go off, and
It's like, oh, I should try that.
yeah,
Or, you know.
yeah, I did never look at that way. Like when about meltdowns, some of them that are obviously higher on the spectrum than Craig would tell me about what it was like for them when they had a meltdown, or what sensory overload felt like, because all I see is from the outside.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And that it makes so much more sense to me now, and has helped me to find better ways to deal with it than I was. So,
And every case is different.
That's for sure.
Every diagnosis of autism is different. So when something doesn't work, don't get discouraged.
And Jennie knows because she has two boys on the spectrum. So
16 and a half months apart in age.
I'm sure she didn't do anything the same for either one, because each one is an individual.
And I'm still learning what works for one. And it's hard because you have to try and keep everything the same. But you can't. You really can't. It's like you got to do one way and one the other.
How many questions?
Craig, it's okay. We'll wrap it up in a little bit. Okay, Craig.
Okay.
Sorry, Craig.
I don't know why he needs me all of a sudden.
Because you're a mom.
Yeah,
That's why.
and this is just different for him. I don't usually have people over here talk, besides my sister.
But it was nice to come and see you.
Do you like meeting Jennie?
Mm-hmm.
She has two sons that are 12 and 13, or 13. Yeah, 12 and 13.
Yeah.
They have autism too.
Yeah. They're ornery.
Craig had his ornery days.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember? You want to come over here so people can see you? You might as well be in the video since he's come down here and decided to join us. Can you tell anyone about the ornery things you've done?
I've been mouser size.
That's not exactly ornery. Did you do anything naughty when you were younger?
No.
No, you've never been naughty? Oh, you've always been a good boy.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Except for when you drew a target on the wall that time. You got you got into the washing machine one
It was
time.
a big mistake.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You weren't very old then.
Mine never did that. Eli likes to climb in my cupboards. Well, when he was younger, he did. And I could never find him, and then it got really quiet. And then I'd come around the corner in the kitchen, my pots and pans would be on the floor. I'm like, I found him. Found him.
He's a good hider.
He was very good. We called him my cupboard monster. And he had the evil grin to go with it, too.
That's cute.
Yeah. He had curly hair when he was a baby, and oh man, he worked it, too.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for that curly hair.
I wish he still had it, but cut it off.
Well, it was great talking to Jennie today. I think Craig thinks I need to wrap this up for some reason. It's 4:00 and he's worried about dinner.
I don't blame you.
We're all thinking about dinner, aren't we?
Yeah, turkey sandwich with side salad.
Okay.
That sounds delicious.
Even though he can make those things himself, he really likes me to help him with the salad especially.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll wrap this up. It's great getting to know you, and
Yes.
maybe we'll get together again and do another video. If you guys have any questions you'd like to ask Jennie, let me know. And maybe someday I'll get to meet her sons, Eli and Bentley.
Yeah, definitely.
Craig, do you want to close us out?
And this has been another speech. So long, folks, and keep on having a great day.